Hey everyone, welcome back. Mia, I have a question that has been living rent-free in my head for the last few days.
That sounds serious already.
It kinda is. I was watching a video about job interviews, and the speaker said, there's one question you will probably hear in almost every interview.
That's true.
So I kept guessing. I thought maybe it was, what's your biggest weakness? Or maybe, why should we hire you? But no, the question was much simpler.
Let me guess.
Go ahead.
Tell me about yourself.
Exactly. One of the most famous questions in English. And honestly, I laughed.
Really?
Yeah. I thought, that's easy. I mean, who knows me better than me?
Fair point.
But then I tried answering it out loud.
And
And I realized it's not easy at all.
that's what surprises almost everyone.
It's funny because the question sounds so simple.
It does.
But the moment someone asks it, your brain starts asking 100 different questions.
Like what?
Should I talk about my job? Should I talk about my family? Should I say where I'm from? Should I mention my hobbies? How long should I talk? Should I sound professional? Should I sound friendly?
See, you've already proved the point.
I know. My brain immediately turns one simple question into a full project
And that's exactly why we're talking about this today.
because I'm guessing I'm not the only person who feels that way.
Definitely not. Millions of English learners hear those four words, tell me about yourself, and suddenly they forget everything they know. Not because they don't know English, not because they don't have interesting lives, but because they don't know what the other person is actually asking.
Wait, that's interesting. You're saying the problem isn't English.
Most of the time, it isn't.
Then what's the real problem?
Context.
Context.
Yes. People hear the words, tell me about yourself, and they think they're supposed to tell their entire life story.
Which is impossible.
Exactly. Imagine someone asks you that question during a conversation at a coffee shop. They're not expecting your autobiography.
Hopefully not.
They're just wondering enough to start a conversation.
That already makes me feel better.
Good. Because here's something that changed the way I think about this question. The words never change. The situation does.
I like that.
Think about it. If someone asks you that question during a job interview, they're asking one thing. If someone asks you during a trip, they're asking something different. If someone asks you at a party, they're asking something else. Same sentence, different purpose.
So maybe I've been trying to find one perfect answer when I should have been learning different answers for different situations.
Exactly. And here's the good news. You don't need 10 different speeches. You just need to understand what the other person wants to know.
That's a completely different way of thinking about it.
It really is. And once you understand that, this question becomes much easier.
You know what's funny?
What?
I actually tried writing a perfect introduction once.
Oh no.
Oh, yes.
How long was it?
Honestly, about 2 pages.
2 pages.
I wanted to be prepared.
Lucas.
I know,
Nobody wants your biography.
but I thought I needed everything. My name, my age, my hometown, my education, my work, my hobbies, my favorite movies, the languages I'm learning, the places I've traveled.
Did you include your favorite pizza, too?
I almost did.
I'm glad you stopped there.
Looking back, I think I was trying too hard.
That's another common mistake. People think a better answer means a longer answer. It usually doesn't. A good answer is clear, natural, relevant.
Relevant. That's a great word.
Exactly. Imagine someone asks, tell me about yourself. The first question in your mind shouldn't be, what should I say?
Really?
It should be, why are they asking me?
That's brilliant. Because if I know why they're asking, I'll know what information matters.
Exactly. Let's imagine something. Tomorrow morning, you wake up. You're getting ready for a job interview.
Okay, I'm listening.
You're applying for a position at a beautiful hotel.
Nice.
You put on your best shirt, you check yourself in the mirror, you make sure your resume is in your bag, you arrive a little early because you don't want to be late.
That's definitely me. I'm always early for important things.
You walk into the hotel lobby. It's quiet. The receptionist smiles and says good morning. You sit down, you look around. Everything looks elegant. People are walking by with suitcases. Someone is checking in, someone else is checking out. A few minutes later, the hiring manager walks towards you with a smile. They shake your hand, you sit down, the interview begins. And the very first question is, tell me about yourself.
Okay, now it suddenly feels much more real.
Exactly. And now comes the important question. What do you think the manager really wants to know?
Hmm, I don't think they care about my favorite pizza anymore.
Definitely not.
So, what should I actually say?
Think about what a hotel manager is trying to discover in that moment. They're not asking because they're curious about every detail of your life. They're asking because they want to know if you're someone they can trust, someone who communicates well, and someone who would be a good fit for the team.
So, they're not asking who is Lucas, they're asking who is Lucas as a professional.
Exactly. And that's a huge difference.
I never noticed that before.
Most people don't. That's why they start talking about things that have nothing to do with the interview.
Like, hi, I'm Lucas. I have two cousins. I love action movies, and I make amazing pancakes.
Exactly. Although my pancakes really are amazing.
I'm sure they are. But unless you're applying to be a chef, maybe save that story for another conversation.
Fair enough. In an interview, your introduction should answer a simple question. Why are you a good person for this role?
That's much easier to remember than trying to memorize a paragraph.
Exactly. Instead of thinking, what should I memorize? Think, what would this person like to know about me?
That completely changes the way I look at this question.
Good. Now let's imagine you're actually sitting in that interview. The manager smiles and says, tell me about yourself. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Honestly, I'm Lucas. I'm from Brazil.
That's a great start.
Really?
Of course. It's natural, it's simple, it's you.
Then maybe I work in sales.
Perfect. Now we're learning something useful about you.
And maybe I could say, I've been working with customers for several years.
That's even better. Now you're giving the interviewer a little more context.
I see. I'm not telling my whole story. I'm giving them the pieces that matter.
Exactly. Imagine you're putting together a puzzle. You don't dump all 1,000 pieces on the table at once. You start with the important ones.
That's a great comparison.
The interviewer will ask more questions later. You don't have to answer every future question in your first answer.
That's actually something I would do.
I know.
I'd probably answer 5 questions before they even ask them.
And after 5 minutes, the interviewer would finally say, thank you, now it's my turn.
That sounds exactly like something I would accidentally do.
Which is why keeping your answer focused is so important.
How long should it be?
Usually around a minute is enough.
Only a minute?
Yes, think of it as opening the conversation, not finishing it.
I like that. It's an introduction, not a documentary.
Exactly.
I think that's another mistake people make. They think they have to impress the interviewer immediately.
And sometimes they try so hard to sound impressive that they stop sounding natural.
That's true. I've heard people use words they would never normally use.
Right, and you don't need that. Simple English spoken confidently is much more powerful than complicated English you can't remember.
That's reassuring.
Think about it. If you normally say, I work in sales, that's great. You don't need to say, I am currently employed within the commercial sector specializing in client relationship development.
Wow, that already sounds exhausting.
Exactly. Natural always wins.
So I don't have to sound like a business book.
Please don't.
That's a relief.
Another thing I want people to remember is that confidence doesn't mean speaking perfectly.
I like that.
Confidence often means speaking clearly, smiling, and not being afraid of simple English.
That's encouraging for English learners.
It should be, because many learners already know enough English to introduce themselves. They just don't believe they do.
That sounds familiar.
Does it?
Very familiar. Sometimes I think my English has to be perfect before I open my mouth.
And does it?
No.
Exactly. Communication comes first. Perfection comes later.
I think my English is broken.
Your English isn't broken.
I know. I just need to stop overthinking everything.
That's probably the biggest lesson today. Don't try to give the perfect answer. Try to give the right answer for the situation.
That's much easier to remember.
And in the next part, let's build a real interview answer together, step by step. Simple, natural, and something you could actually use if someone asked you, tell me about yourself.
That's a great question, isn't it? What does the manager actually want to hear? Because I have a feeling this is where most people get lost.
I think you're right. Most people hear the words, tell me about yourself, and immediately start thinking about themselves. But the better question is, what is this person trying to learn about me?
So the focus changes.
Exactly. Imagine you're the manager for a moment. You're interviewing 10 people today. Every candidate walks into the room, shakes your hand, sits down, and hears the same question. You're not asking because you're curious about their favorite color. You're asking because you want a quick picture of who they are professionally.
So it's almost like reading the first page of a book.
That's a beautiful comparison. You don't need the whole story, you just need enough to know whether you want to keep reading.
I like that. Actually, I wish someone had explained it to me years ago.
Me too. People often make this question much harder than it really is.
I definitely did. I used to think I had to impress the interviewer in the first 30 seconds.
That's a lot of pressure.
Exactly. Then I started imagining all the things I should say. Maybe I should mention my degree. Maybe I should mention every company I've worked for. Maybe I should mention that one award I won years ago.
And before you know it, your introduction becomes a documentary.
Exactly. And documentaries are usually much longer than interviews.
That's true. The funny thing is, most interviewers aren't looking for a perfect speech. They're looking for a comfortable conversation.
That's actually very reassuring.
Think about your own experience. You've worked in sales for a long time.
I have.
When you meet a customer for the first time, do you spend 10 minutes talking without stopping?
No, that would probably scare them away.
Exactly. What do you do instead?
I introduce myself. I ask a few questions. I listen. I try to understand what they're looking for.
So you already know how conversations work.
I guess I do. I just never realized an interview starts the same way.
It does. An interview is still a conversation. It's a more professional conversation, but it's still a conversation.
That's interesting. I always imagined interviews as tests.
They can feel like that, but the best interviews don't feel like interrogations. They feel like two people getting to know each other.
That changes my mindset completely.
Good. Now imagine the interviewer is smiling. They're friendly. They ask, "So, Lucas, tell me about yourself." Take a deep breath. What's the first sentence that feels natural?
Hi, I'm Lucas.
Perfect.
I'm from Brazil.
Great.
I currently work in sales.
Nice. Now stop there for a second.
Really?
Yes, notice how natural those three sentences already sound.
They don't sound fancy.
They don't need to. They sound honest.
I think a lot of learners believe simple English sounds weak.
That's one of the biggest myths. Simple English is usually confident English. Complicated English is often nervous English.
That's so true. Sometimes people use words they've never used before just because it's an interview,
Exactly. Then they're spending more energy remembering vocabulary than actually communicating.
which probably makes them sound less confident.
Right. Confidence isn't about using difficult words. It's about speaking comfortably,
That's something I wish every English learner could hear.
especially because interviews are already stressful enough. There's no reason to make your English more stressful too.
So after I say, I'm Lucas, I'm from Brazil, I currently work in sales, what comes next?
Tell the interviewer something that helps them understand your experience.
Like, I've been working with customers for several years.
That's excellent.
Why?
Because now I understand your background. I know what you've been doing.
Should I talk about everything I've ever done?
No. Remember the first page of the book.
Right, I'm only opening the story.
Exactly. The interviewer will ask about the details later if they're interested.
That takes away a lot of pressure.
It should. You're not trying to answer every possible question. You're simply introducing yourself.
That's funny. We spend so much time learning English grammar, but nobody tells us that introductions are supposed to be simple.
Because simple is harder than it looks.
What do you mean?
People think more information automatically means a better answer, but communication doesn't work that way. Sometimes the best answer is the clearest answer.
That's true in Portuguese too.
Exactly. This isn't really an English lesson. It's a communication lesson.
That's probably why this question exists in so many languages.
Absolutely. Every culture has its own version of "tell me a little about yourself."
And nobody expects your entire life story.
Exactly. Just enough to begin a conversation.
You know, I'm starting to notice something.
What is it?
Every time we simplify the question, my answer becomes better.
That's not a coincidence. When your brain stops trying to be perfect, it finally has room to be natural.
I really like that idea. Maybe I've been trying to sound impressive instead of trying to sound like myself.
And that's the biggest shift you can make, because the interviewer isn't looking for another copy of someone else. They're trying to meet you, the real you.
You know what I find interesting? The more we talk about this question, the less it feels like an English problem.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. It's almost always a communication problem first and an English problem second.
That's actually comforting because communication is something we can improve every day.
Exactly. Imagine someone asks you, tell me about yourself in Portuguese. Would you automatically know the perfect answer?
Probably not. I'd overthink it there too.
That's why I always tell people not to blame their English too quickly. Sometimes the challenge isn't the language, it's organizing your thoughts.
That makes so much sense. I spent years thinking my English was the problem, when maybe I was just making the question more complicated than it needed to be.
I think a lot of people do that. They hear a simple question and immediately imagine they need a perfect speech.
Can I try another version of my introduction?
Absolutely. This time, don't worry about sounding impressive. Just imagine you're talking to a real person who's genuinely interested in getting to know you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm from Brazil and I currently work in sales. I've been helping customers for several years, and one of the things I enjoy most is talking to people and solving problems. That's one of the reasons I'm interested in working at this hotel. I really enjoy meeting new people, and I think I'd love working in a place where every day is a little different.
I really like that.
Really?
Yes, because every sentence connects naturally to the next one. It doesn't sound like you're reading a list. It sounds like you're telling a story about yourself.
You're right. It actually felt like a conversation instead of a presentation.
Exactly. That's something many people don't realize. Conversations flow, lists don't.
That's true. If I just say, I'm from Brazil, I work in sales, I like coffee, I have a dog, I enjoy movies, it sounds like I'm checking boxes.
Right, but if you connect your ideas, people can follow your story much easier.
I guess that's why memorized answers sometimes sound a little strange.
They do. You can almost hear someone trying to remember the next sentence instead of actually thinking about what they're saying.
I've definitely been that person.
I think we've all been that person at some point.
And then something unexpected happens.
Like the interviewer asking a different question?
Exactly. Suddenly, my whole script falls apart.
That's because scripts are fragile, ideas are flexible.
I love that sentence.
Think about it. You don't need to memorize that you're from Brazil. You already know that. You don't need to memorize your job. You already know it. You don't need to memorize what you enjoy doing. Those things are already part of your life.
So instead of memorizing exact sentences,
Remember the ideas you want to communicate,
that feels so much easier.
and much more natural.
You know what's funny? If someone asked me the same question tomorrow, I probably wouldn't answer it exactly the same way.
And that's actually a good thing.
Really?
Of course, real conversations are never identical. Maybe tomorrow you'll mention a different hobby. Maybe next month you'll have a new job. Maybe next year you'll be living somewhere else. Your introduction should grow with you.
I really like that expression. My introduction grows with me.
Exactly. It's not something you memorize once and keep forever. It's something that changes as your life changes.
That takes a lot of pressure off.
That's the idea.
Can I ask something people might be wondering right now?
Go ahead.
What if someone doesn't have much work experience? Maybe they're applying for their first job.
That's a great question because it happens all the time. A lot of people think they don't have anything interesting to say, but that's simply not true.
So what should they talk about?
Talk about where you are today. Maybe you're studying. Maybe you've recently graduated. Maybe you've volunteered somewhere. Maybe you've worked on personal projects. Maybe you've helped in a family business. Those experiences matter too.
So you don't need 10 years of experience to answer this question well.
Not at all. The interviewer already knows you're applying for an entry-level position. They're not expecting you to have decades of experience. They're looking for someone who's motivated, curious, and ready to learn.
That's encouraging.
It should be. Everyone starts somewhere.
I have another question.
I was expecting that.
Should I mention my hobbies during an interview?
Sometimes, yes.
Really?
Absolutely. If they help people understand who you are, they can be a nice addition. For example, if you enjoy learning languages, that shows curiosity. If you volunteer in your community, that says something about your values. If you play team sports, it can naturally lead to a conversation about teamwork.
So hobbies aren't the main course.
They're more like the dessert.
I like that comparison. You don't start with dessert.
Exactly. First, talk about the professional side. Then, if it feels natural, let a little personality shine through.
You know, if someone asked me, tell me about yourself right now, I don't think I'd be nearly as nervous as I was at the beginning of this episode.
Why do you think that is?
Because I finally understand what they're really asking. They're not saying, tell me everything about your life. They're saying, help me get to know you.
That's exactly it.
And somehow, that feels like a friendlier question.
It really is. Once you stop treating it like a test, it becomes the beginning of a conversation.
Speaking of conversations, let's imagine something completely different.
I'm listening.
This time, there's no interview, no resume, no hiring manager. I'm just traveling, waiting for my coffee, when someone smiles and says, so, Tell me about yourself.
I have a feeling your answer is about to sound very different.
I like that already. It feels completely different. There's no interview, no pressure, no resume, just two people having a conversation.
Exactly. And that's why your answer changes. The question is the same, but the purpose is completely different.
Okay, let's imagine I'm traveling.
Perfect. You've just arrived in London. It's your second day. You've spent the morning walking around the city, taking pictures, and getting slightly lost, which, to be fair, happens to almost everyone.
I was about to say, getting lost is part of traveling.
I agree. Sometimes those are the best moments. Anyway, you stop at a small coffee shop because you've been walking for hours.
That sounds like me.
You order a cappuccino, find a place to wait, and while you're looking out the window, the person next to you smiles and says, "Hi, are you visiting London?"
I'd probably say, yeah, I am.
Then they ask, "Where are you from?"
I'm from Brazil.
"Oh, nice. Is this your first time here?
Yes, it is.
Are you enjoying the city?"
Absolutely. I've been walking all day.
Then they laugh and say, "So, tell me about yourself."
It already feels like a completely different question.
Because it is. Nobody's trying to decide if you're the right candidate for a job. They're simply wondering who you are.
So if I suddenly started talking about sales reports and customer retention,
They'd probably wonder why you changed the subject.
imagine this. Hi, I'm Lucas. Last quarter, I exceeded my sales goals by 12%.
While they're just holding a cup of coffee and trying to make a new friend.
Yeah, that would be a little awkward.
Just a little.
So what kind of things would you naturally talk about?
Think about the things someone could continue talking about. Maybe where you're from, maybe why you're visiting, maybe what you enjoy doing, maybe something you're excited about.
So I should give them something to respond to.
Exactly. A conversation isn't a speech. It's more like playing catch. You throw the other person an interesting idea, they catch it, and then they throw another one back.
I like that comparison. If I throw 10 ideas at once, they'll probably drop all of them.
Exactly.
Let me try answering.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm from Brazil, and I'm here on vacation. I work in sales, but in my free time, I really enjoy traveling, trying local coffee shops, and learning English. One of my favorite parts of traveling is meeting people from different countries.
That sounds wonderful.
Really?
Absolutely. If I were the other person, I'd immediately have questions.
Like what?
I'd probably ask, "What's your favorite place you visited?" Or maybe, "How long have you been learning English?" Or even, "Have you tried British tea yet?"
That's true. My answer naturally gives the other person something to ask.
Exactly. That's what makes conversations flow.
You know, I think that's something many English learners forget.
What's that?
We spend so much time thinking about what we're going to say that we forget the other person wants to talk too.
That's a fantastic point. Conversations are shared, they're not performances.
Sometimes I meet people who seem really easy to talk to, and now I realize why.
Why do you think that is?
They don't try to impress me. They just seem interested. They answer my questions, ask me questions, and the conversation keeps moving naturally.
Exactly. They aren't trying to prove anything, they're simply curious.
Curiosity is probably one of the best conversation skills you can have.
I couldn't agree more. People usually enjoy talking to someone who's genuinely interested in them.
So after I introduce myself, I shouldn't just keep talking forever.
Definitely not.
I could simply ask, what about you?
Perfect. Those three words can completely change the conversation.
It's funny because I use that all the time in Portuguese.
And it works just as well in English. What about you is one of the easiest ways to keep a conversation balanced.
I like that. It takes the pressure off me too.
Exactly. You're no longer giving a presentation, you're getting to know another person.
You know, I think traveling is one of the best ways to practice English.
I agree. Not because you'll use complicated grammar, but because you'll have lots of real conversations.
And real conversations are usually much simpler than we imagine.
They really are. Most of them start with simple questions, simple answers, and a little curiosity.
Speaking of curiosity, what if that person and I end up talking for an hour?
Well, maybe that coffee turns into two coffees, and before you know it, you've made a new friend.
I like that. It feels like the conversation is just getting started instead of ending.
Exactly. That's what happens when you're genuinely interested in getting to know someone. Before you realize it, you've been talking for an hour.
And I guess that's when you naturally start sharing more about yourself.
Right, you don't need to tell everything in the first minute. As the conversation grows, people naturally learn more about you.
That actually takes away a lot of pressure. I used to think I had one chance to say everything.
Most people think that, but conversations happen little by little. You answer a question, ask another one, laugh about something, tell a short story, and suddenly you realize you've been talking for quite a while.
That's true. Some of my favorite conversations happened exactly like that.
Mine too. They usually start with something simple like, where are you from? Or what brings you here?
It's funny how such simple questions can lead to great conversations.
Because people are naturally curious. They don't need a perfect introduction, they just want something real.
You know, if someone asked me, tell me about yourself today, I don't think I'd panic anymore.
Why not?
Because now I understand what they're really asking. The words are the same, but the purpose depends on the situation.
Exactly. That's the biggest lesson from today's episode.
In a job interview, they're trying to understand who I am professionally.
Right?
While traveling, they're trying to get to know me as a person.
Exactly.
And if I'm making a new friend,
You simply share the parts of your life that help build a connection.
same question,
Different answer.
and now it finally makes sense.
I'm really happy to hear that.
I also realized something else.
What's that?
I don't need perfect English to answer this question well.
Not at all.
I just need clear ideas and the confidence to be myself.
Exactly. People remember genuine conversations much more than perfect grammar.
I think my English is broken.
Your English isn't broken.
Maybe I was just making things harder than they needed to be.
I think that's something every English learner does at some point.
So here's our challenge for everyone listening today.
We'd genuinely love to meet you.
Write a short introduction about yourself in the comments.
It doesn't have to be long. Just imagine someone asks you, tell me about yourself,
You can include where you're from,
what you do,
what you enjoy doing,
or anything you'd naturally share when meeting someone for the first time.
and don't worry about making mistakes.
Absolutely. This community is here to learn together. The comments are a place to practice, not a place to be perfect.
We read your comments, and honestly, one of the best parts of making this podcast is seeing people from all over the world introducing themselves in English.
It's amazing to see how this community keeps growing. Every episode, we meet listeners from new countries, new cities, and different cultures. And that's one of the things we love the most.
So don't be shy. We'd really love to know a little about you.
And if today's episode helped you feel more confident about answering, tell me about yourself, please take a second to support the podcast.
Give this episode a like if you enjoyed it.
Follow the channel so you don't miss the next episode in the Tell Me About series.
Every week, we'll help you feel more comfortable with real English conversations, one topic at a time.
And if you know someone who's learning English, share this episode with them. It might be exactly what they need to hear today.
Next time, we're answering another question almost everyone gets asked.
Tell me about your family.
I already know that's going to be fun.
I think so too.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
Keep speaking English, keep enjoying the journey, and remember,
Every conversation is a chance to improve.
we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.